All right. Well, it is 7 o'clock. I will call to order the December 18th meeting of the Town of St. Andrews Planning Advisory Committee. We are here in the W.C. O'Neill Arena Complex Council Chambers. Looking around the table, all are here except for Councillor Harland, who is unavailable this evening. And so that's that. We have an agenda in front of us. If anyone would like to make a motion on this agenda. Thank you. Is there a seconder? All right, and just before we call the vote, there was through a clerical error, there was a motion missing on one of the items. We're going to go down.
Madam Chair, actually, I didn't miss it. It was there on.
I thought so. I
And
thought
on
it was a
Nine
third
Water Street.
variance.
Yeah, I lost myself a
I
little there.
looked
So
at it a few times, but all right. So please ignore that. We have a motion on the table to approve the agenda as presented. If all those in favor would signify by saying aye. None opposed. That will be our roadmap. Thank you. And as we get started, we do recognize that we are on the unceded traditional territory of the Peskotomuhkati people, and we welcome you to our meeting. Looking around for any declarations of conflict of interest, if any exist. None on this agenda, so that's great. Confirmation of minutes. This goes back to November the 20th. I think we've all had an opportunity to review the minutes that were in our package. If so, I'll entertain a motion on adopting the minutes from November 20th. Thank you, Mr. Cross, a seconder. Anyone? Mr. Tanner, thanks so much. Anything arising from those minutes, edits, corrections, anything like that? If there is none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of adopting the minutes from November 20th, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Great, none opposed. Thank you very much. So we have some agenda items tonight. We have no presentations or delegations, no zoning applications, but we do have a few variance applications. Our first one is, sorry. Yeah. So we are looking at item number PAC 241206. This is a variance application for 114 Water Street on PID 013-18369 for Mr. Norman Belong. The applicant in this case is requesting a variance to allow an accessory building, an accessory dwelling unit that would have a few variances attached. So at this time, turn it over to Mr. Gopin for his planning report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Great. And I think I'm sharing my screen.
you are.
Excellent. Okay, so let's jump into the presentation. So as was stated, this is a application from Norman Belong at 114 Water Street. There are several variances. I'll get into that. So this is a proposal to develop a 29-foot tall, two-story accessory dwelling unit with a gross floor area of 1,320 square feet in the rear yard of 114 Water Street. In the application, this was referred to as a guest house. In zoning bylaw language, that becomes accessory dwelling unit, which I'll refer to as ADU. So for this application, several variances would be required. The zoning bylaw limits garden suites to 1 story. A detached accessory dwelling unit is called a garden suite in the zoning bylaw. So in the definition, it says that that's 1 story. Now, in some cases, that can be the second story of another building, but in this case, it's a 2-story building with all two of those stories being a garden suite. There would also be a variance to allow a 2-story accessory building exceeding the height of the main dwelling. Section 4.1.7 of the zoning bylaw says that accessory buildings need to be no higher than the main dwelling unit. There's also a variance for area as accessory buildings are limited to 904.2 square feet. in gross floor area, and this would be 1,320 square feet. So those were the three variances that were required based on the application. During a site visit, staff did realize that an additional variance would be required, as this would be adding an accessory building to a lot accessory structure where there were already more than two accessory structures, and the zoning bylaw limits accessory structures to two on any lot. So, and that final variance, because it wasn't part of the application, it's not being dealt with tonight. I'll mention it and talk about it a little bit, but it's not one of the variances that was applied for. So it's not exactly on the table tonight, but it is kind of relevant. So this is the zoning of the property. It's in the mixed use zone on Water Street there. Again, here's the aerial imagery, and part of the issue here, as you can see with the older aerial imagery, it's a lot of these structures that are now on the property were developed more recently, so they're not visible in this aerial imagery. It's kind of hard to see them in this one as well. The site plan we got didn't have any other accessory buildings on it. But it does describe the size of the building and how far it is from property lines, and there are no variances related to property lines. Here is the some concepts of the structure itself. So it's kind of a loft style 2-story building. And then photos from the site visit. You can actually see all three accessory structures currently on the lot here. It's kind of hard to see this one in the background, and that one is completely invisible on all the aerial imagery, so you really have to do a site visit to see it. Like normal, we do the 100-meter. It wasn't exactly a mail out this time just because of the postal strike, but 100-meter hand delivered by town staff to all the addresses within 100 meters of this property. We had no correspondence, at least not that I'm aware of. The municipal plan does have a policy dealing with accessory dwelling units and permitting them in all residential zones, so long as they meet all other requirements in this plan and the zoning bylaw. The mixed use zone isn't strictly a residential zone. This property has a main use that is a residential dwelling, kind of a standard single unit dwelling. But there's, as I've sort of alluded to, there are a lot of other ways this does not meet the zoning bylaw. And, PAC has seen accessory dwelling units before, and they are a fairly important tool in meeting current housing needs. But this one is very far outside the scope of the zoning bylaw. The main issue in staff's view is that accessory structures, buildings, and uses are intended to be subordinate to a main use. They're really not meant to kind of exceed the main use. And in this case, you have an accessory building and use which would exceed the height of the main building by over 6 feet. And it exceeds the maximum amount of space. There are dimensional variances, design variances. So they're numerous and significant, and I think outside the scope of what should be allowed through variances. More appropriate maybe for zoning bylaw amendments, or where council is starting to review the zoning bylaw. It's possible that this type of development will, maybe it won't be allowed by right, but it may be a lot closer to what the intent of the zoning bylaw is. But with this particular zoning bylaw, the number of variances, the significance of those variances, as well as this kind of further variance discovered during the site visit that would be required, it really is not fitting with the intent of the zoning bylaw as it is. So due to that, staff is recommending that PAC reject the variances to allow the proposed accessory dwelling unit. So PAC can motion to reject the variance, motion to approve the variance with or without conditions, or motion to table the variance for specific information. And I will note, because that fourth variance regarding the number of accessory structures, it was not known at the time of application, so it's not included. So if PAC is to approve the variances, that variance would still be required. And it is something that, now that it's sort of been discovered on the site, it will have to be dealt with. But what PAC is looking at is the three variances regarding the height of the structure and the size of the structure. So there's two regarding height, one regarding size. So I'll leave it there, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Gopin. Anyone on the committee have some questions for the planner?
Xander, couple questions. So you said is there two already on property or three? And this would be the fourth?
There's three, yeah. So this would be the fourth. There's kind of a greenhouse structure which was permitted. There's kind of a, looks like a shed. It's more of an outdoor dining area. And then in the very back there's another shed. And those last two buildings we couldn't find any records of permits for.
My other question is, based on lot coverage, if they added the new building based on lot coverage, does it fall within the lot coverage that we're allowed?
It would still be within that. It's getting up there. And I think there is some question, and this is more for council in their zoning bylaw. If you're meeting the lot coverage, does the number of buildings, how important is that? But in this zoning bylaw, it's very clear that two is the maximum. And somehow we've got a situation here with more than two already.
No, actually, you've not been recognized. Thank you.
Xander,
Oh, whoa.
Xander, are you there?
Xander, can you hear Mr. Tanner?
Yes, I can hear. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes.
And now, is there a proposed plot plan showing where the building was, proposed to be sited or built?
I can go back to the presentation. It was kind of implied based on the size of the building and the distance from lot lines. That was what was given to us. But we do ask for all buildings to be shown on site plans. And in this case, that didn't happen. So we didn't really find out about all the buildings until site visit.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else for the planner? Going once, going twice. Did he? Okay. Anything, Dwight? No, you're good? Okay. All right. So then the applicant is welcome to make a presentation at this point.
Can you please come to the microphone, announce your name and your address? Thank you very
Yeah.
much.
I'm Norman Gerard Belong. I'm the resident 114 Water Street. I have my contractor here, Damien Legacy. Just a couple of things that we noticed during the address. The two things that aren't accurate, it's not a two-story, it's a story and a half. That's number one. Number two, it is not higher than the original dwelling, correct, Damien? It wouldn't be higher than the original dwelling. What else do we have? Square footage. Yeah, we can pack down this square footage down, whatever we're over 150 square feet we're over, we could reduce that. My contractor's able to do that. So those are the 3 points, only 3 points I can think of right now. Other than my wife, did you have anything to say, Barry? That's it. Damien, my contractor, anything you want to say?
If you can please come to the microphone.
Yeah,
Thank you.
please.
It's all being recorded, so
Yeah,
we need to,
sure.
thank you.
So I think it said 29 feet was maximum. So it's not close, it's not 29 feet. It would only be 27 max.
29 feet was what was submitted in the application.
That's right.
We apologize for our
Yeah.
mistake then.
Okay.
Yeah.
And square footage, like I said, we can address that, no problem at all. So any other further questions you can address, please? Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Did anyone have any questions for the applicant? Not quite off the hook yet.
I guess not so much for the applicant,
Oh,
but
all right.
if we have something in front of us that says 29 feet high, 1,300 square feet, and then you're coming in saying it's not going to be that, so what are we commenting on?
Yeah.
Like we can't be changing, in my mind, we can't be changing things on the fly.
Yeah.
So it's got to be something that if this is what you want to do and you want to change your plan, then it has to be another application. We'd have to deny this one, and then you'd have to come back with what you want to do. And then we can discuss it then. My concern is that one reason I believe that we have a minimum number of or maximum number of buildings on a site is we don't want to have a site to be cluttered and to have a lot of visual clutter happening on sites. Right now, you have 1, 2, 3 oak buildings, or this will be the 4th oak building. To me, that's cluttering a site, and it's not what you want to have within a town, within any town. I don't think so. I think that's where, right now, even looking at this, I would say even if it's reduced in size, I'd be like, still, there's way too many old buildings on the property, and I think that's a little bit talking to what Xander said, with the site visit, we noticed these things. So it's one of those things going forward that we'd have to sort of look at and take that into consideration as well. But I think right now, if you're going to change the parameters of this kind of makes this application null and void.
Yes, we have to deal with the application that's in front of us. That's exactly correct. So. Is there anyone from within the polling area that has any, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Cross, did I cut you off? No?
No, I was just gonna say that to Dwight's conversation there, we've also got to deal with, or it has to be dealt with already, that there's 3 accessory buildings that's on a lot that's in non-compliance as it is. So
Yeah.
in order to move forward, I think the whole thing's got to be dealt with as a whole. And even looking, before we look at this, to approve another building on a lot, that has to be taken care of. So.
All right. Anyone from within the polling area have any comments? Anything to add? No? Anyone from outside the polling area? Anyone online? No one online? All right.
There is online, but they're not going to be.
Okay, got it. Yep. Okay, so back to the committee for a motion. Yes.
Sorry, Ken. If, for example, you do want to come back with a new proposal, submit a site plan. Show us exactly where you're going to put the building on the property so we can comment on that. Right now, there's a description of 8 feet from this lot line, whatever. We need to see it shown as a site plan. All existing structures and any proposed structures on that site plan. Okay, thanks.
I'm sure the planner will be all over that as well.
Okay, well, thank you for your time, and we certainly understand the grievance.
Thank you. Thank you. Motion from anyone at the table? Okay.
Yeah. I would make a motion that the Planning Advisory Committee for the Town of St. Andrews rejects the variance application for PID 013-18369-114 Water Street for Norman Belong based on it not being in general intent of the zoning bylaw, Z 22-01.
Thank you for the motion. Do I have a seconder? Seconded by Mr. Ingles. Thanks so much. Any further discussion? The committee? There being none, I will call the question. All those in favor of the motion to reject this application for 114 Water Street, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? There being none, thank you very much. That motion is approved. It's carried, I guess is what I should say. Okay, so thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Looking to reference number PAC 241112. This is a terms and conditions application for PID 013-18633 for 93 Montague Street, Mr. Fothergill. I think we saw some of this last month. This application that requires terms and conditions to erect a 6-foot fence within the front flankage yard of PID 013-18633 for 93 Montague Street. And at this point, I'll turn it over to Ms. Hartford for her planning report.
Thank you. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, as you said, this is a John Fothergill application, and the applicant requires terms and conditions to erect a 6-foot fence within the front and flankage yard. So this property is located at 93 Montague Street on the corner of Elizabeth Street. And so Montague becomes the front line and Elizabeth Street is the flankage yard. So the property is zoned service residential in the town plat. And the owner wishes to replace the existing wooden fence and erect a 6-foot ornamental fence. And the existing fence on Montague will be removed. I know that was a question from PAC last month, and so it definitely is going to be removed. And so fences in the front and flankage yard exceeding 1 meter are permitted uses, but they are subject to terms and conditions as posed by the planning committee. Fences in a residential zone cannot exceed 6.6 feet and shall be located 1 meter from the property line, and the proposal complies with the bylaw. Notice of this meeting was sent to neighbors located within 100 meters, and PAC did receive 1 letter in support of the proposal. So this is the coral fence that is being proposed. And this is the site plan. So you see that the existing fence is back here. On a site visit, I did notice there is a fence post on the front of Montague Street, and we'll see that in the pictures. And this existing gate is where this fence is going to butt up to. So it's 98 feet of new fencing on Elizabeth Street. So you can see this is the view from Montague, and you see there's the posts that are there. The slats have been removed. And on the Elizabeth Street side, you can see this is the existing fence that will be removed. And this is where it would be coming up to this existing gate here. So for discussion, the owner, as I said, wishes to erect a 6-foot ornamental fence within the front and flankage yard of the property inside the town plat. The terms and conditions posed by the PAC are to protect properties within the zone or abutting zone, the health, safety, and welfare of the general public, and the integrity of the objectives and policy established in the municipal development plan. And as I said, the fence does meet for setbacks and for height. So the applications for permitted use subject to terms and conditions may only be prohibited by PAC, where the terms and conditions imposed cannot reasonably be expected. So it is in staff's opinion that the proposed fence is reasonable and desirable for the development of land, subject to the recommended terms and conditions. And so staff recommends that the Planning Advisory Committee permit a 6-foot high ornamental fence located within the front flankage yard of the property in the SR zone of the Town of St. Andrews zoning bylaw Z2201, subject to the following terms and conditions. No fence in any residential zone shall be electrified or incorporate barbed wire or other sharp, dangerous materials in its construction, and the fence shall be maintained so that it does not become unsightly, dilapidated, or unsafe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone have any questions for Ms. Hartford? This time, no? Sir, would you like to make some comments? Just
Well, the last meeting, they were wondering about the fence on the corner of Elizabeth and Montague. And so that's been, I've taken that down.
Yeah.
Except for the post, but the post will be taken down also. And the new fence that's going to be from the corner of Montague and Elizabeth down to the back of the property on Elizabeth. That's the white picket fence is all going to be taken down
okay,
with the construction of the new fence.
excellent. Thank you very much. We did have
I
some
think that
questions.
was
So
the question at the last.
they were, yeah, that was our questions. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Did anyone have questions for the applicant? No, I think we're all grateful that you came in and clarified all that.
Sure
Thank
thing.
you.
Thank you.
All right, anyone from within the polling area have anything to add? Anyone from outside? And no one online? Back to the committee. We have a suggested motion here, if someone would like to make that motion.
Sure. Like to make the motion that the Planning Advisory Committee for the Town of St. Andrews permits a 6-foot high ornamental fence located within the front flankage yard of 93 Montague Street, PID number 01318633, sorry, for John Fothergill, a property in the service residential zone of the zoning bylaw Z22-01 with the following terms and conditions. Number one, no fence in any residential or commercial zone shall be electrified or incorporated barbed wire or other sharp dangerous material in its construction. And 2, the fence shall be maintained so that it does not become unsightly, dilapidated, or unsafe.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. Is there a seconder for that motion? Mr. Kerr, thank you very much. Any further discussion, comment by the committee? No, if not, you're ready for the question. All those in favor of approving the variance, the terms and conditions for the fence at 93 Montague, please signify by saying aye. And none opposed? That motion is carried. Thank you very much. You're welcome to stay for the show, but you're not obligated. All right, we are going to move ahead with item number PAC 241205. This again is a terms and conditions application for 88 Joe's Point Road, PID 1520530. Mr. James Smith. This is the application for, the applicant is seeking to erect a 6-foot high decorative fence within the front yard. And that is the request, and I'll turn it over once again to Ms. Hartford for her planning report.
Thank you. Okay, as you said, this is a James Smith application and requires terms and conditions to erect a 6-foot fence. So the property is located at 88 Joe's Point Road. The property is zoned service residential, and this application is outside the town plat. And so the owner wishes to erect a 6-foot decorative fence. The existing fence on the property will remain, and that did get a permit in April of 2021. Fences in the front yard exceeding 1 meter are permitted and subject to the terms and conditions as opposed by PAC. Fences in the residential zone cannot exceed 6.6 feet and shall be located at 1 meter from the property line. This proposal complies with the bylaw. It's over 30, I believe it's 39 meters from the front yard, but because the front yard is defined as the front line to the nearest wall of the building, then everything within that front yard does require terms and conditions to erect fences that are over 1 meter. So the notice of the meeting was sent to neighbors located within 100 meters, and PAC did receive 1 letter in support of the proposal. This would be the type of fence that is being proposed for the property in the front yard. And this is the site plan. So you can see the blue here in the back, that is the existing and mesh fence. and the proposed fence will abut up to that existing fence. And you can see here in the green, that is the fence that's being proposed. And like I said, it's I believe it's 35 or 39, sorry, I can't see that in the red, meters from the front property line. So this is the site plan of, or the, sorry, the site photos. And you see there's the existing fence peeking here in the back, and the existing fence would come out on front of the building here and abut up to the stairway or the stairs. So the applicant wishes to erect the 6-foot ornamental fence in the front yard, and this property is outside the town plat. So as I said with the last application, the terms and conditions imposed shall be limited to those considered necessary by the PAC to protect properties within the zone or abutting zones, the health, safety, and welfare of the general public, and the integrity of the objectives and policy established in the municipal development plan. And this does meet all the requirements of the zoning bylaw. So applications for permitted uses, subject terms and conditions, may only be prohibited by the Planning Advisory Committee where the terms and conditions proposed cannot be reasonably expected. And it is in staff opinion that the proposed fence is reasonable and desirable for the development of land subject to the recommended terms and conditions. The staff recommends the Planning Advisory Committee permit a 6-foot decorative fence located within the front yard of a property in the service residential zone of the Town of St. Andrews zoning bylaw Z 2201, subject to the following terms and conditions. No fence in any residential zone shall be electrified or incorporate barbed wire or other sharp, dangerous materials in its construction, and the fence shall be maintained so it does not become unsightly, dilapidated, and unsafe. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Committee questions for the planner?
Yeah, always tend to have one. Hey, Judy, I didn't do drive-by, so it's my own fault. But I did notice the picture. Are the posts already in for that fence? Or was that just my eye catching little white posts in the picture that you had there?
I believe there's mesh fencing around the hedges that are there now, but I didn't see any posts for the
Okay.
actual
Oh, I just seen the white. I was
fence.
just wondering if that was
No problem.
okay.
Yeah, no, I think that's just protecting the vegetation there, but no, that site picture was taken on Monday, and I don't believe there was any posts in at that time.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Ms. Hartford, can you clarify the fence that is being proposed to be installed? That the picture shows like a spiked top. Is that going to be rounded off? Is it going to be protected? How is it going to remove its sharp edges?
That's a good question. I'm not sure if the applicant is here to speak about that, but I know that wasn't a part of the application. I can go back to that picture if you'd like.
Yes, please go to the photo.
No.
One moment.
PAC, just for recommendation, you may want to look at that as a term and condition.
Oh, just 1 second, sorry. Yeah, so there is, you can see the edges there, but that definitely could be a condition, as a condition does say that it can't have sharp edges, so we wouldn't want a pointy edge like that. You would want it to be more rounded. This was just an example of the fence, but definitely they would not be able to be a sharp edge. It would have to be, like you said, more rounded or more squared off.
Okay.
Ms. Harper, one follow-up. Would the first motion where it talks, or the first term and condition where it says no other sharp, dangerous materials in its construction, would that classify within that then?
It would classify, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's it. So no, the applicant not here. Anyone from within the polling area? Anyone from outside the polling area? Nobody online. Back to the committee for a motion.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Kerr.
All right.
The Planning Advisory Committee of the Town of St. Andrews approves the 6-foot high decorative fence located within the front yard of 88 Joe's Point Road, PID 15205-305 for James Smith in the SR zone by zoning bylaw Z22-01, subject to the following terms and conditions. The fence no fence in any residential or commercial zone shall be electrified or incorporated barbed wire or other sharp, dangerous material in its construction. The fence shall be maintained so that it does not become unsightly, dilapidated, or unsafe.
Thank you very much. Do I have a seconder for that? Mr. Cross, or I'm sorry, Mr. Simmons? All right, so we have the motion on the table. Does anyone have any further commentary, terms and conditions to add? Everyone happy with the way this is going to go? Okay, excellent. Here we go then. Are you ready for the question? All those in favor of approving the 6-foot high decorative fence located within the front yard of 88 Joe's Point Road, subject to listed terms and conditions, please signify by saying aye. And none opposed, that motion is carried. Thank you very much. And, okay, next item, PAC 241208. This is again a terms and conditions application and variance for PID 1013181112 at 9 Water Street. Michael Riley. The applicant in this case is seeking to erect a 5'2" fence within the front yard and is requesting a variance to vary the minimum distance from the front property line. At this point, I will turn it over again, Ms. Hartford, for her planning report.
Thank you. Just 1 second. I gotta go to the right slide.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, my presentation was a little out of order here.
That's all right.
So as you said, there's 2 requests for this application for terms and conditions of the fence in the front yard and for the distance from the front property line. So the property is located at 9 Water Street. The property is zoned service residential inside the town plat. And the application is to erect a 5-foot woven wire fence in the front yard located 0.5 feet from the front property line. And there is hedging planted on the interior side of the fence. And so as again, fences in the front yard exceeding 1 meter are permitted and subject to the terms and conditions as opposed by PAC. Fences in a residential zone cannot exceed 6.6 feet and shall be located 1 meter from the property line. So the proposal requires a variance to be approved to be located closer than the minimum distance. The property is set back from the road, but the property, again, the fence is only 0.5 feet from that front property line. So notice that the meeting was sent to neighbors located within 100 meters. PAC received 1 letter in support of the proposal within the front yard. And there was a letter of objection that was received for the portion of the fence on a sideline that was not included in this application. So during a site visit, it was discovered that the fence is already placed, and the fence does go down the sideline of the property. And you'll see that in the pictures. So this is the site plan that was submitted with the application. You see this is the fence as shown on the property here, but it does go down on the sideline here, and I'll show you in the next slide. So there is the hedging already in place, and then the fence, which is the 0.5 feet between the property lines. So you see here, this is the property line, and the fence inside of that property line, 0.5 feet. So this is a rendering of the fence that is currently on site. And you can see here in the site photo that it does follow down on the sideline, and there is some concerns of whether that fence is 1 meter from that side property line. I did check with our records back to 2021, and there has been no fence approval for this portion on the sideline here. So the owner wishes to erect the 5-foot, or has erected the 5-foot 0.2 foot tall woven wire fence within the front yard of the property inside the town plat. and which will be located 0.5 feet from the property line. Woven wire fences remain strong in different environmental conditions and will protect the hedge from being eaten by wild animals and without losing any visibility to the property. So as you've seen in the site that there's not much visibility that's lost from using this type of fencing. So as we said before, terms and conditions opposed should be to protect the properties within zones and abutting zones, the health, safety, and welfare of the general public, and the integrity of the objectives and policies established in the municipal development plan. So applications for permitted uses subject to terms and conditions may only be prohibited by the PAC where terms and conditions imposed cannot reasonably be expected. And so reasonable and desirable variances can be applied within the Community Planning Act, Section 55(1)(b). And so with the general intent of the bylaws to regulate fence height and placement to ensure that overly high fences are not erected and that no fence in the front yard is situated within a sight triangle that provides a line of sight at intersections. So the proposed fence is less than the maximum allowed height in a residential zone, and it is not within that 4.6 meters of an intersection. So at the time of the report, it is a staff opinion that the proposed fence is reasonable and desirable for the development of land, subject to the recommended terms and conditions. But because that side fence is there, we will address that within the recommendation. So staff recommends that the Planning Advisory Committee grant a variance to allow for a fence to be located 0.5 feet from the front property line of a property in the service residential zone of the Town of St. Andrews zoning bylaw, Z 2201. Staff recommends that the Planning Advisory Committee permit a 5.2-foot high woven wire fence located within the front yard of a property in the service residential zone of the Town of St. Andrews zoning bylaw, Z 2201, subject to the following terms and conditions. No fence in any residential commercial zone shall be electrified or incorporate barbed wire or other sharp, dangerous materials in its construction, and the fence shall be maintained so that it does not become unsightly, dilapidated, or unsafe. And just to note that as the fence on the sideline was confirmed to have been installed without a permit or a variance approval, PAC may choose to decide on this proposal after that's addressed. Thank you very much.
Can you repeat that last part for us, Judy, please?
Sure can.
It
So
seemed kind
where
of important.
Yes, so where there was no approval given, like I said, I went back to 2021. There was no approval or a variance given for that fence section that's on the sideline, which I mean, it probably was erected at the same time as the front was done. But because there is no approval, PAC may want to hold off on this application, on this proposal until that's addressed. Because if it doesn't meet the zoning bylaw, then we need to address it. This application is only addressing the fence that's in the front yard as it was shown on the site plan. So on the site plan, it wasn't shown that that actually wraps around onto the side yard. And so because there is not, this application is not dealing with that, PAC may want to, hold off on this application until we address that variance on the sideline.
Thank you for that clarification. Committee questions for the developer? Yes, Mr. Ingles.
I think I'm probably going to speak for myself, but probably other people on the committee. What I don't like about this report, Judy, is you're writing this as if this is going to be built and it's already built. And we all know it's built. You're writing this as we're asking permission to have this happen. It's already done. That's my first initial reaction to this planning report. It doesn't reflect really what's on site. So I don't know how your team wants to deal with things that have already been built and people are coming in and asking after the fact, but I don't feel we can have a planning report that sort of states that it's not built when it's already there.
Can I answer that?
Yep.
So at the time of the report, I did not know that fence was there. It was not said in the application that it was already erected, so I did not know at the time of the report. I did do the site visit after I had submitted the report because I was under the impression that that fence had not been constructed. When I went on site and did my site photos, that's when I realized that fence was there. So that's why when I was presenting, it's not that they wish to erect a 5.2, it has been erected.
And
So I
think,
did get clarification from our planning director, because my report went out with that recommendation. That's why the recommendation had stayed. And that's why I made that note to say that PAC may want to hold off. I did question if I should recommend to table it, but because my report went out with that recommendation, it was suggested my presentation have that same recommendation because that's what my report had said. So that's why that note was there, so that PAC may choose to, like I said, address that variance for that sideline fence prior to looking at this fence in the front line.
Okay.
and I think also there's you know, a kind of feeling that we're trying to get the property in compliance after noticing something was not in compliance. So that's kind of also the purpose of a lot of this too.
Another thing I noticed, I went to look at the site. I mean, they erected this fence and this planting probably back in October. I also noticed there is, I mean, it's a unique site because there's not a huge front yard for the site. So they're kind of compromised in that aspect. There's a lot of unit paving that would fall within the public right of way. That's from the curb to this planting bed. Also, there's a hydro pole right on the corner where they have planting right at that hydro pole as well. So there's a few grievances, and what I find interesting is I think the people that did the installation of the plant material in the fence, I think they're a local contractor.
Yeah, I don't know. Go ahead.
They are a local contractor. They're a local contractor that does a lot of work in town. And it just boggles my mind that we're still getting things like this when we know that they shouldn't be doing either planting or doing fencing here. I mean, my concern as well is that these cedars that are planted here, when they grow, they're going to be within the public right of way. They're going to be a visual impediment, because if that fence is only half a foot off the property line, those cedars are maybe 1 foot off the property line. So they're going to be within the property. They're going to be within the right of way really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So I applaud the effort that they're doing a fence that is not solid, and that I understand, yes, they need to do this because it's protecting the cedars. They'll get to a certain height and they can probably take that fence down. Maybe yes, maybe no. But I just think you're just really compromising the front, and it's going to start to impede the municipal right of way, and it's going to start to, it's going to be onto town staff to maintain that going forward.
Clarification, town staff will not be maintaining that. Anything that is in the right of way is known that if it is damaged through plowing or any other methods of maintaining municipal space, it's up to the property owner that they'll have to do that. There are many streets in this town that with the right of way that we do own as the town, we own up to many people's front doors. Queen Street, Montague, you can see it a lot in the town in the plat. So it's, people have to understand that, you know, there is plowing, there is that, and if you go close to it with your variances, it's a situation of it's on you to repair, not on the town.
Fair enough. Anyone else? Mr. Simmons?
Yeah. So knowing the fence is built,
This
and
is
this
a question for the planner,
and
right?
this is for planner and kind of
Thank you.
Paul at the exact same time,
Okay.
right? I've been on PAC 3 years, and we're always, what has always been told to us by the planners, Xander, Alex, and Judy, is that we're supposed to bring people in compliance. Is it not, and I know you did it up before you did your site visit, is it not the commission's job to make sure that it's in compliance before people build it? Which means, wouldn't it be the commission's job, considering they're employed by the town, to bring the property in compliance before it comes to our table. Because you continue to ask us, after 3 years of begging and pleading, that I've asked from day one.
Mhm.
Because honestly, I'm tired of seeing fences built before it comes to us. And then and everybody's opinion is that, oh, we'll just bring them in compliance. But here we have a fence that's well within the front yard, possibly well within the side yard setbacks. And we're supposed to bring it in compliance. I mean, not long ago, we dealt with a fence done by Funday Fencing on Sophia Street that was in the right of way. You know, they just come in and slugged it in. But maybe it's time that fencers are made to taken out. And I don't want to cause undue burden, but again, we could have worked with the details of this plan like you did with John Fothergill and sent him away for a month
Mm.
and asked him to come back with a better rendering and maybe better fence options. And I wasn't here at the meeting last month, but
Mhm.
he removed the white fence and he tried to meet the mandate. And those are, I think, instead of us forwarding it and dealing to bring it in compliance, the compliance is that we don't deal with it until it's down. And then we look at what's brought to us for us to look at. Anyways, that's just my 2 cents worth. It means we've dealt with a lot of fences over 3 years, and I've been on here 3 years and I've seen a ton of them built. And always the commission says you need to bring them in compliance. Well, why did you bring it to us after the fact that it's already been built?
I don't know how the applications get submitted, actually, like what comes first, the commission finding the fence and looking for the application, or the application for the fence. I just don't know what comes first in that, but agreed. Good points.
So point of clarification. So from the discussions that the PAC has had, the town has actually done a lot more education within our newsletters, within our website, and to promote people to go and talk to the Service Commission and go and get their permits first before starting. It's the best we can do from that standpoint, and we are finding still, like, we've seen more compliance uptake. However, we're still finding property owners that are in non-compliance that are building their fences, and this is where it ends up coming, is to the PAC's table for look for compliance. From a town standpoint, we don't disagree that, we hope that everyone will go and follow the proper procedure, but obviously message is still not being received.
Mhm.
Would a generic letter sent out to every contractor in St. Andrews, because there's not that many, or would it be worth putting on the website as a mandate, or would it be worth CHCO coming in and do a little brief and getting it out to the whole? Just some fences would just be part of that little piece, Paul.
Mhm.
But other little things that the town can think of that can do a half hour with Vicky and saying, here's things people should consider. One, if you've already lived here a long time and don't pay attention to the bylaws, but 2, if you're new here, and 3, if you're a contractor here in Charlotte County, in Southern New Brunswick.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm just throwing it out there because we're talking about telling people, it's an avenue to tell people.
And I know that we have, through you, Madam Chair, I know that we've informed the contractors. We're open to any avenue that's going to see us have better education and better processes out there to the public, and happy to take that back and look at those, like with CHCO and some other options.
Mhm.
But again, we've informed the contractors. The contractors definitely know, and it's up to the property owner
It
to
is.
get the permits.
It is.
If they're telling the contractors to go without their permits, it's the property owner that needs to be addressed here, not necessarily the construction companies.
Agreed. Agreed.
I don't think we're ever gonna stop that. It's just, that's the nature of the beast, unfortunately. People just like to do things on their own accord. I think the bigger issue with this whole application is the fact that we have a fence going down the side yard as well that we're not sure that is in
Mhm.
compliance, and it's already constructed. So to even consider this application, I think we're way off the mark here. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents. I don't think we can deal with this without dealing with the whole thing as a whole. Like, it just doesn't work in my mind.
Well, I'm sensing that we're done with questions for the planners. I'm going to turn it over to the applicant now, and they're online, so we'll have a listen.
So, Mr. Riley, you have the floor to PAC. If you wish to unmute, you do so now.
Thank you very much, everybody. And I've been listening, obviously, to the discussion, and I appreciate actually all of Judy's hard work. We've been going back and forth. I'm a new resident to St. Andrews, so I actually was not aware that this fence was required, that there was permitting required for the fence. And it was brought to my attention, as soon as it was brought to my attention, I phoned the New Brunswick Commission to talk to them specifically, and I had a long conversation, not with Judy, but with the person who had signed my letter, basically. And obviously I have heard, I would have been more than happy to submit an application, which I obviously did as soon as I knew that a permit was required here. I'm obviously thrilled to be a resident of St. Andrews, and I particularly understand why the need for these zoning bylaws are required. So there was no intention to circumvent anything. I literally took the fencing that was within my eyesight all across Water Street. I then did the proper evaluation, and as somebody pointed out on the committee, the house was built in the late 1800s, and it's really the road that came in later. And so for me, the variance to stay out of the right of way, I heard the note about I'm more than happy to maintain the right of way, as presumably the previous owner has done. And I made a provision to make sure that there is still a right of way to walk in front, as well as the telephone pole, which I actually did an eyeball to some of the properties down the road on my side of the street to try and be in compliance. So there was no intention to circumvent, and I think all the regulation here is important, and I'm more than happy to go back with whatever advice this committee has, but there was no intention here. It was, as a new resident, I just was unaware of what the provisions were. And I literally did what is currently commonplace along almost the entire front of Water Street. So it wasn't an intent to do something different, to be above the height regulation or any of that. My only issue is really the variance, because the house, the setback for the house itself is particularly close to the road and the right of way. So I'm more than happy to take guidance. My preference, obviously, I think Judy's done a great job. I'm more than happy to work with the Planning Commission here, as well as the team there, to make sure that all of this is in compliance. And happy to take your recommendation. And happy to answer any questions as well. So as a new resident, you're more than happy to let me know what I didn't do right.
Rick, thanks so much. Committee questions for the applicant?
Sure. Sorry.
Thanks.
I'm trying to burn up the whole 2 hours, right? So
could you announce your name as well?
Sorry, Michael. My name is Kevin.
Thank you.
Everybody knows me.
Yeah. No, just so I know who's talking.
Yeah. It's a simple question, Michael, and it you know, your house has a lot of curb appeal when you turn onto Water Street. So you turn on the left, pow, it's in your face, right?
Correct.
I'm just wondering why your choice. I know we're dealing with the aftermath of you putting a fence in before it was permitted, but that you put in a nice wrought iron gate, and that you didn't carry that. I'm just asking that you didn't carry kind of the same fence style down the front, and that you chose that kind of wire mesh.
I don't know what the reaction was of the committee chair, but yes, I don't know if we're allowed wrought iron. What I was doing was really taking what I saw, like, so if you look across the road, just down on Water Street, the yellow house that's there, it has that. It seems to be commonplace. It was more around the cedar and the deer. So to keep basically your point about the curb appeal, obviously I'm thrilled to be a resident of St. Andrews. The house has not been touched in what I think is 40 or 50 years. I'm obviously happy to invest, as I have done, across the whole house, to maintain the period of it, to maintain the look and the feel. I think that's important. And to me, the visual appeal to the fence that was chosen was for that reason. A, it was easy. B, it was what is currently the commonplace along there. But I'm pleased that you like the gate.
Yeah, but just another quick one then. What is your
Yeah,
intent of the fence? Leaving the fence there permanently, like Mr. Cross brought it up earlier, or is it
It
just
is.
to protect the hedges? Okay, okay.
Yeah, so it would be only because I want to keep it at that level. So to sort of address a little bit, I sort of taking a step back a little bit on the curb appeal. I believe that the setback from the road diminishes the curb appeal, and also from a resident inside the house, blocking the road with some version of a fence slash hedge there also creates an element of privacy as well that currently is not there, to your point. I think it improves the curb appeal of the house, but the intent is to keep it at that level. I don't want it to go any further. And I'm certainly happy to take a provision that says, at that, in and around whatever that is, that height. I don't want them growing up the whole side of the house. I want to be the light that comes in. I want that to continue. I just want some element of a block between the house and the road, which obviously, as the owner of the property, I think adds more value to the property and is more in compliance with what is currently on Water Street.
Thank you. All right. Anyone? Oh, sorry.
Sorry, could I, Michael, I just want to ask.
Tell him your name.
Oh, sorry, Michael, it's Dwight. I just want to ask a quick question. You just said you wanted to maintain the cedars at that height or the fence at that height?
Both. So the cedars would grow to the level of the fence, which is the 5 feet. So the cedars are currently a little under that right now. So we would keep it in and around that 5 to 6 feet.
Do you know what the mature height of these cedars are?
Well, I presume the height is what the height would be, presumably. I would continue to trim them to be at 6 feet if that's part of the provision.
So
I don't know that cedars have
okay, so
maximum
I'll
height.
just
Is
tell you,
that
I'm
your
coming
question?
as a landscape architect. So
Yeah.
what you've chosen the wrong plant material for the site is what you've done. Because what you're going to end up doing is trimming these and they're going to look really foolish over time. They're going to be a little bit like an abbreviated shrub. And you should have, in my mind, you should have put a different plant material in here and not a cedar that's going to grow high and you're trying to keep it short. I would maybe rethink of what you have there for plant material, honestly. If you wanted to keep something small, that's maybe 3 to 4 feet high, you shouldn't have chosen a large tree that's going to be there.
Yeah, I guess what I'm trying to stay in compliance with is what you currently have on Water Street.
There's a lot of different plant material on Water Street. It's just not cedars in town. And I know.
We're directly across.
Traditionally, we've always had cedars in the town, but it doesn't mean we can change that a little bit. I just think you're gonna have a struggle with it going forward. That's all.
Got it.
Thank you, Mr. Ingles. Anyone from within the polling area?
Sorry, just give me a sec. Mr. Riley, I'm just going to put you on mute for now. Thank you.
Great.
All right. Anyone from within the polling area on this topic? Thanks. If you want to just come on up and introduce yourself. Thank you.
My name is Brian Kay. My wife and I are the owners of the property on the easterly side of the house in question, or the property in question. With respect to the application for the frontage, first thing is the fence is that's been installed. Is too long already. It's past the property line on the side. And that's part of that is because the fence that was installed on the side came straight up and it violates the setback required for a fence as well. And the reason we know that it's too long is because the survey marker that was there prior to the installation of the fence was removed. We're not exactly sure or by whom. But I can tell you that over the years, we've tripped over that survey marker many times, or almost tripped over, because I guess we knew it was there. So the fence that they're asking for the variance for is already too long. It's too long toward the easterly side because it meets the side fence, which is in violation of the setback required. And we have filed, I don't know what the right term is, Paul, an objection, I guess,
Mhm.
to the side fence.
Yeah.
We also, I guess, want to comment on the fence being there. It's going to be all sorts of trouble for snow removal. The first time that there's a wet snow, the snow plow is going to blow, or not blow, plow snow up in there, and it's going to be, if it freezes, there's going to be a continual obstruction for snow blowing. And the other thing is the cedar that they planted behind it. When it grows, it's going to grow out toward the road. And we have this population of animals that seem to like cedar. They're going to be trotting up to that cedar, even the stuff that goes through the fence, and trying to eat. It's going to be a traffic hazard. So that's it. I think, well, I guess that's enough.
Thanks, Mr. Kay.
Just a comment. Not all of us knows who you are.
Yes.
Okay.
Agreed. Okay.
Hi, it's Mary Kay speaking from across the street. Just a couple of comments. When I saw them putting up the fence, I did go over and speak to the contractor and say, are you sure this fence is allowed? And they said, I don't think the town will allow it at that point, but we're putting it up, and or because they put the metal one up first and then the cedar. So I was a bit surprised, and so I phoned the St. Stephen to say, you know, what are the rules? I thought the bylaw said they couldn't do that, and they said, well, I said, so who polices it? And they said, well, unless somebody complains, no, it doesn't get policed. So they were waiting for somebody. If somebody puts up a fence, they're waiting for somebody else to tell them it's there before. They're not going looking for them. So anyway, I did ask. They said if and that they have to have in writing an agreement from the owner on the other side for that fence. So I assumed that would eventually, that it wouldn't happen or that they'd have to remove it. But just to let you know, that was the sequence that I went through when I saw it happening, because I knew they were away. And so I mentioned it to the contractor, but he said, well, we're building this fence. So the only other comment I guess I could make is that we sometimes park our vehicle on that spot, and getting out onto the road, if it comes up as high as it is now, is going to be a bit of a sight hazard trying to get out onto the road because it's right up close. But we only have a 20 feet there anyway. So if the fence is left where it is now, it's going to be very hard to see around it to get the nose of the car out onto the road.
Okay. Thanks, Ms. Kay. Thank you very much. Any other comments inside or outside the polling area or online?
Am I allowed to respond to some of the comments that are there? It's Michael at 9 Water Street.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick chance to respond. You bet.
So it just, I guess, specifically to two things. One is The fence, there is a marker that is there that the fence was built on. This is now the side fence that runs basically right up the property line. So there is a marker that was pointed out. I obviously haven't been at the property. I can see the gentleman shaking his head, but there is a marker that the fence was compliant with. So we'll go in, and I'm more than happy to just take a look at that and make sure. The intent obviously was not to go too far, but it was my understanding. What was relayed back to me was that was very much inside our marker. And I know specifically the marker that you're talking about, so we can make sure that that is indeed compliant. And then secondarily, sorry, I think you maybe wanted to make a comment, which I'm more than happy to hear.
I missed that last one. I'm sorry.
I feel like the gentleman wants to make a comment, but maybe he doesn't.
Currently, the comment is from you. The chair will decide who comments and when.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So, yeah. So again, the fence is allegedly compliant with that side property marker. But I'll make sure to confirm that after the discussion from this here.
All right, thank you. And I think to avoid a whole back and forth discussion, I'm going to just not allow commentary past that, I think, okay? Everyone's had an opportunity to add their 2 cents, so it's now back to the committee for motion and discussion.
Madam, we need to make a motion before we can have a discussion, right? Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
yes.
So
yes, please.
I'll make a motion that the Planning Advisory Committee for the Town of St. Andrews approves a 5.2-foot high woven wire fence located within the front yard in an SR zone for the zoning bylaw Z22-01 for PID 01318112 9 Water Street for Michael Riley with the following terms and conditions. 1, no fence in any residential commercial zones shall be electrified or incorporate barbed wire or other sharp, dangerous material in its construction. 2, the fence shall be maintained so that it does not become unsightly, dilapidated, or unsafe.
Do I have a seconder for that motion? No seconder? No seconder for that motion? Okay, I need some advice.
Madam Chair, at this time, that means that motion is, there's no motion to go forward because it's not seconded. So right
Okay.
now, you're basically back to somebody needs to put a motion on the table.
Okay,
So that motion was basically rejected at this point. So
Okay.
a new motion needs to be crafted by PAC.
okay. So that doesn't kill this, we still need to make a motion.
You
of
still
some
need to, you
kind.
still need to make a motion of some kind.
Okay,
Um,
so we can either approve,
you can either
approve with terms and conditions.
you can ask for-
reject, or table.
table for more information.
Thank you.
And as noted by Ms. Hartford, that there is new information on the table there that
Yeah.
would be in consideration of what's going on here.
Exactly. Thank you very much. I hope that is helpful. Would anyone else like to make a motion? Mr. Boss.
Just based on the new information that we were given tonight, with regards to the side yard fence and some of the setbacks and things that are going on, I'm going to make a motion that the Planning Advisory Committee of the Town of St. Andrews tables this motion for a 5.2-foot high woven wire fence located within the front yard in an SR zone for the zoning bylaw Z22-01 for PID 0131812229 Water Street for Michael Riley with the there is no following terms and conditions. It's just the fact that we need further information based on these setbacks and the new information that we were given. We've got to be provided the proper information in order to be able to move forward.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder on that new motion? Mr. Tanner, thank you. All right. Is there any further discussion on it? If not, I will call the question. All those in favor of tabling this application for further information regarding setbacks and existing fence placement? please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
None opposed? That motion to table is carried. Thank you very much. All right. Final item of the night, PAC 241207. This is a variance application for signs at PID 013211280218 Water Street. This is the Cannabis Xpress store. The applicant is requesting to allow for additional signage that exceeds the number of allowed signage types. And at this time, Ms. Hartford, you're up one more time.
Okay, just one moment. I'm going to share my screen. Okay, as you said, the applicant is requesting a variance to allow for additional signage. So this wouldn't be signage exceeding the number that allowed, but it would be a sign variance in the allowed sign types that are permitted. So Cannabis Express is located at 218 Water Street at the rear of the building. So this business does not have street frontage. And the property is zoned central commercial and also in the historical business district. So in the central commercial zone, you can have 5 advertising signs, but you must choose them between a fascia, which are allowed one awning, a projecting or freestanding or flag, so just one of them signs, one of the types, 2 window signs, a sandwich board, and an interpretive sign. So this use currently has a fascia sign, projecting sign, and a sandwich board, which they do have approval for in May of 2024. And per zoning, the use is permitted to have 2 more signs, but they would be chosen from a window sign, awning, or an interpretive sign. So if you're looking at giving the business more visibility from the street, putting a window sign in is not going to address that, nor would an awning sign. So the proposed signage is for a fabric flag sign, which can be removed, and an additional sandwich board, which also can be removed in the evening so that it wouldn't stay out all night long. It can be removed. So it wouldn't be a permanent sign like a freestanding sign where it would be permanent in that spot. So additional sign types are requested as the customers are confused about the location. So that's part of the application. The applicant has said that they are requesting this additional signage. So unlike the last application we looked at, it's not to exceed the number. It is just to vary the types of signs that are permitted. So a mail out was sent to properties within 100 meters. PAC did receive a letter of support and a letter of objection to this proposal. These are 2 signs that are being requested. So the A-frame sign, which is the same sign that they have now. And that sign is closer to the sidewalk. And so this sign would not be in that same location, so that it wouldn't be, 2 sandwich board signs right on the sidewalk. This one's going to be set back further on the side of the building, and the feather flag sign. So we're looking at the location. So the store is at the back of the building, and the flag sign and the A-frame side will be closer. The A-frame side will be closer to where the door is to go into the kitchen. It'll be right around that area so that customers aren't trying to walk into the Kennedy Inn. They will be directed to go further onto that or on the building to get to that retail use. So this is looking down the alleyway. You can see now there is the 1 sandwich board sign there. So it would be 1 sandwich board on the left and the flag sign towards the back of the property. So policies in the municipal plan and secondary municipal plan that are relevant to this application is council shall regulate the development within the town plat and each BD with a secondary municipal plan and zoning bylaw. And council shall work to improve the business community in the town by encouraging new commercial, retail, and service businesses to be located in the central commercial area where most shops or services are found. And for the secondary municipal plan, signs shall comply with all applicable bylaws. The portion of its proposed signs located above the glazing shall be contained within the horizontal and vertical rhythms of the facade. Doesn't pertain to this application as it's not a fascia sign. So PAC is asked to consider a variance to allow for 2 additional advertising signs to a maximum of 5 for the use. And the applicant's goal is to improve customer awareness of their business. So like I said, they're allowed 2 more. They have 3 on site, but the choices for the 2 for the other signs that they could have isn't going to improve the customer awareness if you put a window sign on or say an awning sign. So reasonable or desirable variances can be applied that are within the general intent of the bylaw, and that's found under the Community Planning Act, Section 55. And as the signs requested are further from Water Street and only visible from the street via side yard or an alleyway, it is opinion of the staff that proposed sign variances are reasonable or desirable for the development of land and are within the general intent of the bylaw, which limits the number of signs and design criteria for signage to reduce visual clutter. So the signs that are proposed do meet the zoning bylaw as far as the size and for the location where they're going to be at, and it would be within the maximum number of 5 signs per use. So the recommendation is staff recommends that the Planning Advisory Committee approve the requested variance to allow for the additional sign types as the variance is within the general intent of the zoning bylaw, subject to the following terms and conditions. And that would be the sign shall not be more than 1 meter from the property line of the commercial property so as not to impede pedestrian flow. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hartford. Questions for the planner?
Hello, Judy, John Tanner. I have one question. If you can go back to slide 21, please.
Sure.
Now, can you toggle over with your, perhaps with your mouse? I see the one sandwich board sign that's next to the Amore shop. Is the proposal for the second one to be further back the alley? That's what I'm assuming.
Yes, back by the door to go into the kitchen for the Kennedy Inn. The applicant had stated in this last application that people were wandering in there thinking that was the store. So this will be further back to let customers know that they need to go further down on the building, that is not the door, that it's directing them to go further down the alleyway.
Can you hold your cursor over exactly where you think that might be, please?
Yes. So where you see the person standing, it would be back in that area there.
Jeremiah.
Can you see that in the picture?
Here, Judy.
Okay.
And it's already there, John.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in the alleyway already.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the flag feather sign, where's that proposed to be?
That would be
Is that
going
already there as
further
well?
back. Yes,
Okay.
so it would be further back than where you see the person standing. It'd be further back towards the storefront.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate the clarity.
You're welcome.
Someone else for the planner?
Anybody want to see what it looks like right now? Pictures?
Yeah, that's where it's at right now.
So just Ms. Hartford, just for a note of concern, apparently there's already a sandwich board sign, a secondary one there on location. Is this another one of
Yes.
those situations where we're bringing them into compliance?
We did speak about this, and I had said that town staff can remove that second sign because it wasn't permitted. They've only had 1 sandwich board. So if there's 2 sandwich boards there now, 1 has to go. This approval is the only way they can have a second sandwich board. So they've only been permitted for 1. So if there is an additional sandwich board, which you did bring that to my attention, Paul, in an email, we did speak about that. And so town staff can remove that sign. If it doesn't have permission to be there, it can be removed by town staff.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is the other sign up there too? Mr. Ingles, did you have something? No? Anyone else?
Yes, I see that.
Yeah, yeah. Is your mic on? Oh,
No, I just said I guess I see that a little bit differently than if there's a fence already installed or trees already planted. You know, it's a sandwich board sign. It's, you know, can be moved or whatever. Having not been to the store myself, but I have walked by, and from hearing the applicant, I can see how there could be a need for some clarity and for some additional signage. Personally, I loathe those feather signs. But I mean, I understand with the zoning, that's probably the best option for him to apply for. But I can understand why he would want or request some additional signage. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for the planner?
No. I just want to get some more clarity on exactly where not the sandwich board sign, but the other sign's going to go. So it's going to be on the side of the building? So it's going to be on the other side of the parking lot. I don't understand that, I guess. Because we're going to have the sandwich board sign, which right now is in the middle of the parking lot. I don't know how.
Mr. Kerr, we can also ask the applicant
Yeah.
as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
That might be better. We'll wait for that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ingles.
I'm just wondering, because there's a lot of discussion about signs, too many signs. Is there a way, instead of doing signage, is there a way to delineate the building where the shop is, maybe by a different paint color on the location of the shop? So it doesn't, right now it's white all the way down. Maybe if where the shop is, or maybe painting the door a different color, so there's more indication instead of doing another sign, if there's so much hesitation with the sign.
Judy, I think when we look back at this file, when it was originally sent to us last year, and we were talking about this, were we not talking originally about a fascia sign on the front building on the alleyway and not the A-frame sign that pointed to the back? I know that we talked about that we said the sign on the building that's out on Water Street would had an arrow pointing back instead of an
Amoria building.
A-frame sign. And I know that was our discussion, and we kind of said yes to that. Oh, we did. Oh,
It's
okay.
not their building. Like,
No,
we could
well,
give permission.
Through you, Madam Chair, the building is owned by the owner of the Kennedy. However,
Okay.
it was the decision that the fascia sign would be above the storefront where it's located, and that the sandwich board sign would be the alternate. They did ask for a sign as well as the sandwich board sign with the That's Amore building, but at the time PAC thought the signage where it should be is above the business, and that the A-frame sign be placed at the sidewalk.
And then I think at not the last meeting, but the one before, the applicant had put in, I think, a request for 5 or 6 signs, thinking that we could sort of negotiate down to 1 or 2. And then he was told to reapply, which he's done. So, I mean, I think, you know, the applicant's making every effort and negotiating in good faith to try to do the right thing here.
Okay, I'm probably not supposed to say this, but anyways, I'm going to. Because I'm looking at the intent of the bylaw, right? We allow 1 fascia, 1 awning, 1 window, 1 projecting, 1 sandwich, and 1 interpretive, any variation of those 5. Not that I want to send it back to them again, but I know on the building they have the A-frame sign out front, and they have a fascia sign on the main building, and they have a projecting sign right now on the building itself. No. The projecting sign is out in the back alley. Over top of their doorway is the actual Cannabis Xpress sign, their door. To the right of it, there's a small projecting sign that he has a picture of that projects out. To fall within the intent of the bylaw, and because Dominique actually owns the adjacent building, again, not that I want to cause a bunch of headache, but I think this would work way better. And I feel more comfortable living within the bylaw, because the 2 letters we got from the 2 adjacent landowners said, if we're going to allow it for everybody. it starts opening up a door for 2 A-frames and other signage within the 5. Why couldn't we take, or this is my suggestion, why couldn't you take the fascia sign that's on the building, put the fascia sign on the building next door in the alleyway, have it point back, and put an awning over top of the doorway with Cannabis Express? You would have one awning, one fascia, one projecting, and one A-frame. That would give them a secondary sign to force everybody back, or use the secondary fascia sign to point everybody back and use your A-frame in the parking lot and get the A-frame off the front street and just use the fascia sign on the building that Dominique owns in the alleyway to force the traffic back with the big arrow. Big arrow, Cannabis Express, come on back here. Oh, look back. Oh, Cannabis Express, look to your left, come back in. Oh, big awning, Cannabis Express, projecting sign, in we go. Fits well within the intent of the bylaw. It gives 4 signs. We avoid the flag issue. Just throwing it out there.
Again, we have
know.
to
I
deal
know.
with this application. So your suggestions are awesome, and I'm sure everyone appreciates them. But they need to be taken into consideration when the application is submitted, so. Or maybe, yeah, that would be great. Did we want to hear from the applicant at this point, Mr. Nopper? Oh. Did you have something? All right, let's move. Let's do it.
Mr. Jones, you have the floor to PAC.
Hey everyone, can you hear me?
Barely.
If you can speak up just a little bit.
Okay, great. Is that better?
Yes.
Much.
Well, thank you again. I think I've been here 5 times. Honestly, while I enjoy these meetings a lot, I get emails from the landlord quite frequently, Dominique, who you mentioned, and customers are going into the back of the kitchen. And while I appreciate the suggestions about moving around every single sign, I don't think that really factors in the cost of doing that, like getting a sign company to come out again and, move everything around again and then kind of see what happens. Because I still think we'd be in the same issue of, customers going the wrong way. A lot of you have walked by, you can see it's a long alleyway. And we have one A-frame sign right now that's close to the sidewalk, and then that kind of directs customers down the alleyway. But once they get down, halfway, they go into the first door that they see, which is the back of the kitchen. So they end up in the back of Dominique's kitchen, which because that door is always open because the people working in it take smoke breaks and go in and out. So that's where people go right now. So the idea would be to have keep the first one on the street, the second one kind of in the middle, and then the flag closer to where the door is, just to create more, I don't know, attention, so people know that's where the store is. So I really just want to avoid more problems with people trying to get into the back of the kitchen, and obviously it would have been easier if I had a spot that was right on the main street, but this was the location that kind of made sense for everyone. So that's, where I'm at. And obviously, if, at least with these signs, I can move them around. It's not like I'm asking to, put a gigantic sign on the, adjacent building, which, isn't movable. So I really hope that, I came back on, last time when I applied a month ago, I thought that, we could say yes and no to different signs. That's why I applied for so many. But I'm hoping this time, that it'll be permitted, just to just so I don't have to come back again next month and apply for another just to do this again, right? So my goal is just to get customers going the right direction, in and out, and keep the landlord happy, just to avoid any issues with customers going into the back of the kitchen, because the alleyway is pretty big, and people just they start walking down and they just go into the first door that they see, and even though there's that projecting sign and sign above the store, if this wasn't an issue, I would not be here asking for another sign to get people to go to the right place. So it's it's a safety thing as well, people walking into the back of the kitchen. So yeah, if the signs were currently working, I wouldn't be here. So I'm hoping these can get approved, just so we can, have our customers be a little bit safer, and no one goes into the back of the kitchen. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, and thanks again.
Thank you very much, sir. Mr. Collins, did you have a question? No, nothing from you? Anyone else? Questions for the applicant? Okay. Oh. Okay, gonna wait for the motion or? Oh my goodness. Okay. You are.
So I have a question. So right now you have 2 sandwich board signs out. You're only allowed to have one. So the one that you have closest to the street, your intent is to keep that one there. And the one that's kind of in the middle of the parking lot right now, is that going to be that's going to be the home for that one?
Yeah, that is correct. I do apologize for that. I know we're only permitted to have one out, but we just hired a new employee who put it out. Because originally I think I bought like 2 or 3 of them for the store. So I will be speaking to them. Obviously, if this doesn't get approved, then I'll make sure only one of them is out. But it was a new employee that they saw them in the doorway and put 2 of them out. So it should only be one. But yeah, that's correct. The second one would be in the same spot, kind of in the middle. So it's like the first one is near the sidewalk, the second one is in the middle, so customers know to keep walking, and then then they see the flag like near the door to signify where the entrance to the store is.
I mean, when you walk back there, so I walked back tonight and had a look. You have already a lot of signage from what I think on the front of the building. Where exactly do you want to put the flag sign?
Near the door, kind of like maybe a few feet from the door, in that vicinity. I think as long as I can kind of move it around close to the door, just to pick the optimal spot where people can see it. But it would be kind of closer to where the door is.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Andrew, John Tanner here. How long had that employee been putting the second sandwich board out for?
So I actually don't know the answer to that. I was only made aware of that when you all mentioned it earlier. But it was a new employee that's been with us for like, I think a week, 2 weeks so far. So I will be speaking to them, but it is I don't know.
I'm not asking for that reason. I'm asking if that's helped clarify or rectify the situation with people going into the kitchen. Because if it has, I'd say the proof has been in the pudding.
Yeah, I haven't heard from Dominique recently. It's kind of a weird time with like the holidays and everything coming up. So I haven't, and obviously like it is very seasonal, right? Like in the summertime, there's obviously a lot more foot traffic, people walking up and down the street. So more people are more likely to, go into the wrong spot in the summer than in the winter. But like I believe it's been helping because I haven't heard any complaints in the last 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you.
It's an unexpected turn. Thank you. Anyone else? Comments for the applicant? Not anyone.
Well, Mr. Jones, I'm just going to put you on mute for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, you can go ahead, Matt.
So when I'm looking at this, I'm not too sure exactly what is.
This is for you, Paul.
This is for you, Paul.
Lovely.
What exactly is signage in terms of? Are you allowed to put your name in the window? The applicant right now has a window and Cannabis Xpress in the window. So is that considered an extra sign?
So that would have to be a question to Ms. Hartford, but I will also note that under Cannabis New Brunswick regulations, they do have to black out the windows, so you can't actually have transparency through them. You're not supposed to be able to stare into the stores. That's all across the province, and anybody that has the private retail outlets are in the same context. They have to follow through that. But Ms. Hartford would be the better person to ask that question to.
Okay, so this isn't actually a window. This is a sign in my mind. Then,
if it's Ms. Hartford, are you still there?
Yes.
Did you hear Mr. Kerr's question?
So did you say that they do have a window sign already?
So there's a sign in the window. There's a neon sign with an open and their hours of operation, and then there is a sign that says Cannabis Express Shop Now. Mr. Kerr is showing me a picture of it. It's clearly showing that it says Cannabis Express Shop Now with additional and their uh, website address as well is in the window.
You can have open signs. I would want to check on the neon.
It is definitely an open neon sign with hours of operation, but that's one thing. The other thing is actually directly on the window, and it's printed on the window that says Cannabis Express with their logo as well.
Then that would be considered a window sign.
There you go. So Ms. Hartford, a window sign would fall within one of the 5 signs, correct?
Correct.
That they're allowed to have. That's permissible.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So any comments from anyone in? I never know when you're going to tell. You got to say, Jill, I need to say something or whatever. I keep cutting you off. Okay. I feel bad. Any comments on this file from anyone inside, outside, online? No. All right. Back to the committee then.
I just want to make a comment.
Okay.
I'll make my comment now. I commend the applicant actually for coming back, and we sent him home to think about this last month, to come up with some other ideas, which he has. I, like John, also, or Mr. Tanner, sorry, am not a big fan of the flag sign or feather sign, but again, it's one of those that are permissible. If they can have it, they can have it. It's going to be in the back. It's not going to be seen by anybody other than really if you're going up in that alley for that reason. Same with the second sandwich board sign. One thing this committee has to remember is that we're a non-precedent setting committee. So just because we do it in this application, if it's allowed, doesn't mean that we have to do it for the next applicant. So we have to think about these things on a application basis as they come forward to us, and base our opinions and our decisions on that. So that was my comment.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that comment. Thanks. Would anyone like to make a motion on this application?
In my comment,
Okay.
we still have time.
It's not about time.
Which, once again, I like the fact that Mr. Cross said that we're not precedent setting, which I think is good to know. Also, this is also one of those things that when we approved the location of this, we had some talk about that. And maybe this is also something for us to look at as well. Like maybe this is not the best way to use an alleyway or trying to direct traffic back into sort of a business that's not right on Water Street. If we're going to start coming with a lot of these issues, I'll say issues or situations around the business that's not located right on Water Street. So something for us to look at as well and keep in mind if we ever have something like that again come forward.
Definitely. Thank you.
If I may,
Yes, sir.
When the original applicant came in and we talked about the location, not what you'd call a marquee location. It is back in the back, and my feeling is the request for additional signage is not so much to elicit more foot traffic or more walk by traffic or business, yes, but actually just to direct the people who have made up their decision where to go. If this was most other stores, you're coming in right off Water Street, you're walking up a couple stairs or you're turning into a door. Whereas, by nature of I guess a criteria for the location that had to be met, it's caused this issue. And this is simply my opinion, but I think, you know, if it were any other product or any other store or business, would there be this much discussion? I mean, to me, it's pretty simple. The applicant wants to have some signage to allow people who are his customers to find the right door to go in. And unless I'm missing something, that's what I see this as. And, you know, my feeling is we approve it. But I mean, you know, there's some more discussion to happen.
Thank you. Mr.
John,
Simmons?
no, I just want to say, have you walked up in the alleyway?
No.
Okay. So if you walk up the alleyway and follow the sign, there's a steel door with Cannabis Express over it. There's a window to your right that says open with your hours. And then on the other side of that, there's an A-frame sign. It's clear as a bell. But anyways, that's just,
But obviously not, because people continue to walk into the kitchen.
anyways. From my point of view, it's clear as a bell.
Mhm.
And if I was an owner of the Kennedy, I would have already had a piece of laminated sign that says pot store to your right. Like, I mean, I would have, the first time that somebody came in, I would have had a piece of laminated sign that says pot store to your right. Like, this is my kitchen, but it's easily fixed. Yeah, well, you could be going in for a pot. Yeah, steel pot, correct.
Oh, that's nice. Awesome. Yeah. All right, ladies, I'm the only one here. Gentlemen, would anyone like to make a motion on this application? Mr. Cross?
I would make a motion that the Planning Advisory Committee for the town of St. Andrews approves this request for variance to allow for additional signage types as the variance is within the general intent of the zoning bylaw Z22-01 for PID 013211-280 at 218 Water Street Cannabis Express. Subject to the following terms and conditions, that the signs shall not be more than 1 meter from the property line of the commercial property so as not to impede pedestrian flow.
Thank you for that motion. Do I have a seconder? Mr. Tanner, thanks so much. Any further discussion?
Can I make a point? So the Water Street sign is the sandwich board sign on Water Street
Yes.
is what it appears to be about a foot smaller than the one in the parking lot.
Possibly.
I think it is. Is it possible to keep it that size? The one that's on Water Street? Or is that?
Just hold on. Miss Hartford, what is the largest size? Is there a size regulation as it comes to the A-frame signs?
Yes, it's 10.2 square feet per side.
Oh, that's quite high. That's quite a bit.
That's quite a.
Like, or sorry, 10.2 feet, both sides included.
Okay. Yeah. Um, so PAC, they're allowed to go to that maximum. So like that's an allowable use within the zoning bylaw. So trying to restrict size of sign that's there might be difficult.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. No,
that's
there's
right. Yeah.
something in place. So okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks. All right, so we have a motion, we have a seconder. I'm going to call the question. All those in favor of approving the requested variance to allow for additional sign types at 218 Water Street Cannabis Express, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? 2 opposed? 3, 4. The motion is carried, not unanimously, which is unusual. All right. So we are at our another agenda item here. Not, I won't say our last, but it could very well be. Yes, this is regarding discussion on appointments of the Planning Advisory Committee for the upcoming silly season.
Yes, thank you, PAC. As noted, I went back and I looked at your terms of reference under the operating rules and procedures, as well as when you were appointed. You are all up on your terms. So Mr. Tanner and Mr. her will be up February 21st. However, the appointments of Ms. Stewart, Mr. Cross, Mr. Ingles, and Mr. Simmons, you guys are technically up as of September 8th. 2024. Now we did carry you through to the end of this year, but I have to ask, are you prepared? Would you like to be reappointed to the PAC, or are you ready to step away? Because I need to know so that I can start putting out notices for positions on PAC.
I have an easy question. So now that you've started the rotation of board members, because technically they're on for 2 years.
So under your actual application, it was 3 years. The reason why the 2-year term was brought in was because of local governance reform, and we brought in Bayside and Shamcook. So we wanted representatives from there, giving them the 2-year term because to bring everybody to term. So one of the things that you can review in January is your rules and operating procedures. One of those things is it's a 3-year term. So you could change your rules of operation to look at 1, 2, and 3-year terms.
That's what I was suggesting, rolling terms, so that we keep continuity. Somebody rolls out 1 year, they roll out, but then they're off for 2 years, they might be able to roll back in later, but you always have continuity. Whereas if the whole board decides to leave, there's zero continuity.
Yes,
Like the whole
synchronizing the end dates.
done, that everybody's had enough, or somebody has got something going, you know what I mean? But if we had a rolling where you're not always looking for 5 board members, right, or 6, right? You might only be looking for 1 year or 2, right? Depending on, or I guess 7, because and that's
or none.
Yeah, well, yes, and that's the other thing too. But I said if you set up maybe some rolling terms where some are on for 1, some are on for 2, and some are on for 3. Somebody that serves might not want to serve a long time, might come on for 1 and decide they really like the board, they've learned a lot, and then they come back on for another 3-year, where somebody's on for 2, they've had enough, they just need a break for a couple of years, but are willing to come back on later. It's just food for thought, right?
Yeah, well, definitely. And like Mr. Knopper says, January is our time to start looking at those operating procedures and start putting some thought to what we think might make us a more efficient committee, and all those suggestions are welcome. So back to Mr. Knopper's question.
Now, I'll leave this as this. If you want to think about it over the holiday season, please do so. But I will need to know in early January, because I'll have to start putting out calls, and I will have to have you members reappointed. So right now, as I would see this committee, unless otherwise stated before the end of the year, that this committee will continue to roll into next year, at which point, if you wish to, when we reevaluate the rules of operation and we look at the positions that way, if you wish to tell me at that time, that's fine. But I would say no later than the end of January, I'll need to know, because I need to put it out to the public for applications and to start that process, because then there's also going to be training and everything else involved with getting them up to speed.
Yeah.
Just for clarity, that would be, you need to know at the end of January for the 3-year term.
So no, so the goal would be is at the next meeting of PAC in January, you will review your rules of operation. At that point, if you wish to change the rules with the terms for just, if you wanted to add 1, 2, and 3-year terms, at that point, if you wish, let's look at the rules first. And if you wish to stay on at that point with the change of the rules that you would like to look at for rolling terms, that point, I would need to know at that final, basically, are you interested in 1, 2, or 3-year term, or not interested at all?
We still in January have to do the election of chair and vice.
Correct.
Regardless.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. And that is a 1-year appointment, and it always has to be reappointed every year.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
So
will we deal with that in January or February?
January.
Okay. So because I'm gone in February, that's all I'm.
Yeah, your rules of operation state that every January you must review your processes, and then you can make changes, and that's what we've traditionally been doing. Other than this, I think it was this year that we brought it in February. Just that was my error. But at that point in time in January, we should be reviewing the rules of operation. If there's any changes or anything you want to modify at that point, you have the freedom to. And at that point, when we look at the term limits for that, if you would like to declare at that point, I'm fine with that. Give it some thought over the holidays, if that's an option you would like to do.
Mhm.
Unless you know now, and then I would deal with it in that way.
Well, I'm happy to stay if everyone would have me. I'm also willing to reoffer as chair. So just to get the discussion going.
So as not to hold the committee up or the town staff. And I've really struggled with this for the past week. And especially today. I went in and saw Paul earlier, had a good conversation. And I was 95% walking into the meeting tonight. The other 5% hit me kind of as I walked through the door. So my job's changed a little bit. I'm not specifically in the field anymore. I got a little more responsibility. I'm traveling more. And what I don't want to do is set the committee up for failure if I'm not here. It has been a conflict a couple of times this past year. We're only allowed to miss 3 as per our
3 in a row.
Yeah, 3 in a row. But it's I just, like I said, I've been up against the wall a couple of times, and it just becomes increasingly difficult to try and juggle a little bit. And for that reason, I'm going to step away at this time, and maybe down the road, in another 3 years, when terms come back up again, I may reappoint or reapply to come back on. But right now, I have to focus on my priority, and that's my work, unfortunately.
Oh, absolutely. Well, your contributions have been greatly appreciated. You'll be missed, especially right there. Yeah. No, well, we definitely understand your position, and so there you go. All right.
And please note, Councillor Harlan cannot be the vice chair or the chair.
I know.
So
I
you
know.
can't voluntold her.
So think about it, everybody. All right. Oh, go ahead. Good. Good. Yay. Yeah. Good. Excellent. That's good to hear.
Yeah, I'll be around.
Simmons?
Dwight will be as soon as we create a 1-year position. Yeah, right.
All right.
So I'll wait for that one for you.
Yeah. All right. So this one will all be finalized next meeting for sure. Thanks, everybody. Yeah. So, following through on our agenda, if there are no PAC member comments, in addition to what we've already done tonight, we have no closed items. And that being said, at 8:57, this meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody.